This might take a couple minutes with my not great connection, so if you want to start, just go ahead and I'll wing it. All right. I am still tired. How about you? I mean, you're not that much older than me. True. Yeah, while no one, while no one's actually listening. Yeah. So, a buddy of mine was in Argentina for a study. Hey. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to those episodes just so I can hear it and clip it out. Okay, I had Wi-Fi for maybe a couple hours each day, and those were usually me sleeping. Wait, you can download YouTube videos onto an iPad? Oh, I didn't know that. I mean, I knew you could do it on a computer. I didn't know you could do it on a tablet. Yeah, so a buddy of mine was in Argentina doing a semester of Spanish, and so we were meeting in Peru because why not? After his semester was over, so I get to Lima Airport, get connected to the airport Wi-Fi, and my phone immediately goes off with three messages from him saying like, "Hey, call me when you land. I missed my flight, but don't worry, I got you covered and stuff." So I'm like, "Oh, great." Because I don't speak because I don't speak Spanish. So I call him. He's like, "Yeah, I already got a car set up." He had like a contact he met down there that lives in Lima that I sent a car to pick me up to, because where the airport is, it's like Detroit. Like you walk outside and get stabbed, sort of thing.
Holy shit. I have been muted since we started the stream. 4 minutes of muted. Press F in the chat. Jesus Christ. There was some. It was the wittiest banter I've ever had. It was the smartest things I've ever said. I went into a DMT trance, and I was telling the people about the meaning of life in those 4 minutes. Holy
and he started
shit.
and he started to be able to remote view Area 51, so those 20,000 people don't have to storm it.
I remote viewed
But
Montagraph's remote view. Sorry. Continue telling him about your vacation now that I'm a fucking. See what I mean about being old? I had this entire speech about being old. I'm so fucking old. Jesus Christ. Yeah, the other day I thought about doing that as a gimmick on stream, and I was like, nah, that's played out. And then I fucking do it accidentally. What the fuck?
manifest destiny, I guess.
We're off
to be back.
We're off to a great start. Thank you, Danielle in the chat. Appreciate you Appreciate you pointing that out to us. I do. Thank you.
Where was I? Oh yeah. So, uh, yeah. So at the airport, 10:30ish at night now. At this point, meet some random Peruvian guy, and and I'm not really panicking because it's kind of like, well, what am I going to do? I just kind of have to go with the flow at this point,
Right.
right? So, so I get in the car with this guy, and we're driving, and I look down and I see him texting, and the only word that I understand is gringo. I'm like, oh fuck. Is my first thought. But everything's cool. Actually, he ended up driving me a few more times throughout the trip. But so yeah, I ended up my first 3 days in Peru was me just traveling the country alone, not speaking any Spanish until he met up with me in Cusco. And then from there we did all kinds of stuff. I sang karaoke, went to the highest elevation Irish pub that serves Guinness in the world.
Oh, and you probably got super fucked up.
No, I only got a couple Guinness there, but the karaoke night I got.
No, but the higher elevation, doesn't it get you drunker?
Yeah, it does, and I forgot about that when I was at the karaoke night, and I was like a hit with everybody there, and I was getting like fed like free shots and all this stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was not a good night. I mean, it was, but yeah. But yeah, saw a bunch of ancient ruins. Went to they called it a glow in the dark party, and there were people like painting like tribal designs and glow in the dark paint on everybody's faces, and yeah, it was a blast.
Man, the things you do when you don't have access to internet porn all day.
Exactly, it's amazing. I'm thinking about canceling my RedTube subscription. I mean, my YouTube Red subscription.
Right. Yes. Yes. No one heard that.
No. So anyway, yeah, that was the bulk of my trip. Just meeting cool people, seeing stuff, bartering, because I love to barter. Bartering in another language that you don't know is super interesting, by the way.
Yeah. I don't know if interesting is the word that I would use, but we'll go with it.
I thought it was fun, but
well, I'm glad you enjoyed your trip. I'm glad you got back safe.
Well, thank you.
I've mentioned a few times I appreciate having a co-host that I can do these shows with, and it's very nice. It's very nice to have a co-host. And now Denny and SK and Becky and everybody, they were all great. Don't get me wrong. But it's so nice to have a co-host that you're used to doing the format with, and when you show up to the show, you're like, oh God, how am I going to do this show? I'm used to, I've got a routine. Like we have a thing set. Why did I let him go on vacation? But no,
that's the nicest thing you've ever said to me on air.
I'll edit it out in the playback. It'll be fine. Nobody will hear it besides the one person still watching. We'll table the sentiment for the moment. We do have some news and some reviews for you guys today. We also have a trailer today. I don't know. Shout out to Becky in the chat. We don't know when this trailer came out. It was labeled as July 8th, but I do believe it's been out longer than that, unless it's like a third run trailer. But we'll take a look at that. So also one thing I don't know that you mentioned, you picked up a comic book in Peru, didn't you?
I did. At an old-fashioned newsstand. It was pretty sweet. Because at least where I'm at in the States, you don't really see that anymore these days. So it was kind of cool. But yeah, found Peruvian comic book, which once I get Church his copy sent over to him, you guys will get to enjoy the wonderfulness of it along with us.
Yeah. We'll be using Google Translate to read this book with their new feature that you point the camera at whatever you want to translate and it live translates it. So it'll be fun.
Yeah, we'll see how well this works. So
anyway, let's go ahead and get into it here. I've got a few articles. You sent me a couple, so we'll start with one of those.
All right.
See what we come up with here. So turn the background on. Pull up the first article. Get it set up and ready to go.
First one I sent you.
The Incredible Hulk one.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, today we're talking majority about Marvel and DC stories and things like that. And one of the things that I wanted to point out is that we're not against covering this stuff, but I feel like it already gets enough coverage a lot of the time. But
yeah,
a lot of the comic book and comic gate and everybody community that does a lot of the commentary, they in our communities at least. I mean, I'm sure there are other YouTubers who, no disrespect, but I'm not as familiar with because I don't want to end up being a parrot of them. But you know how that can become a thing. Like you watch somebody enough and you start to emulate them. I don't
right.
want to be accused of that in this sphere. I don't want to be accused of trying to be the new like Comics Explained or trying to mimic anybody else, which I don't think anybody's ever going to accuse me of that. I'm not trying to hold myself up to that standard. I was just using it as an example. But
I don't know, except your Batman voice is pretty great.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll get that again. I mean, Anyway, first thing we're looking at today, Incredible Hulk star Lou Ferrigno from the '80s television show says he can't take Mark Ruffalo's Hulk seriously. And Ayrton sent this in. There's the video. We're not going to watch that.
Yeah, and I saw this pop up on the headline when I was just searching around for news, and I just thought it was funny, because Mark Ruffalo's a bit of a cuck.
A what?
So I thought it'd be entertaining to read and see what a bit of a cuck.
Oh, and let's see what Chad Lou Ferrigno thinks of him.
Yeah,
okay.
I thought it would be fun.
Well, let's just see here. Lou Ferrigno, who portrayed the green-skinned alter ego of Dr. David Banner, note that in the show they did not use the name Bruce Banner. That'd be something interesting to look into. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was a rights thing, but I don't know for sure. But instead of calling him Bruce Banner, they would call him David Banner. And then there was the rapper in the early 2000s that was also named David Banner. But David Banner was portrayed by Bill Bixby in 1978 television series The Incredible Hulk. Admits he doesn't take Marvel Cinematic Universe star Mark Ruffalo seriously in his portrayal of Bruce Banner and the Hulk. Mark is a wonderful actor, but we've had 3 different actors. We've had Eric Bana, Edward Norton, and Mark Ruffalo. I like Bill Bixby best. I like Edward Norton. But Ruffalo, I think he's a wonderful actor. He blends in with the Marvel aspect of the Avengers, but I can't take him seriously enough, Ferrigno said at Montreal Comic Con. Ferrigno. So, he did a shout out there to Ed Norton. And a lot of people like Ed Norton's Hulk, but from what I understand, he was a giant pain in the ass to work with on the movie set.
Yeah, I liked him as Bruce Banner because he had, I don't know, Mark Ruffalo is kind of like plays him kind of like nervous and like skittish, and I thought Edward Norton, he played it like really intense and like more fearful
Right.
of the Hulk, and I don't know, there was more intensity to like when he actually like eventually hulked out. Like I don't know, it was a more intense feeling than the first time we saw Mark Ruffalo do it, in my opinion.
I don't disagree with that. Bill has that intensity, and you knew that when he was in danger, you could feel that intensity. But because of Marvel and Disney, they've taken a different direction. You can't take it as seriously as the original series. That intensity is why people just loved it so much, Ferrigno added, and why people loved it so much seems to be a direct quote. Excuse me 1 second.
Yeah.
Had to cough. Uh, Ferrigno added the CBS aired series that ran for 80 episodes across 5 seasons. I've got so many fans come up to me. They tell me they were young. They were fighting to watch it. And they'd get behind the couch, but when they'd see me as the Hulk, they'd want to see the Hulk because of that attraction, because of the build up, the adrenaline. That's what makes the show. I don't know about all that. I just watched it eating Cheetos like everyone else, but then again, it was after my time, so
I mean,
or
I
before my
like
time, I
watching it.
guess. Like I was after this
I
time.
mean, yeah, I think it's a blast to watch. It's
Oh yeah, I love the
fun, has a
effects.
bit
Yeah,
of that.
the
Yeah,
best.
oh yeah, it's
You know what?
great.
Let me finish this up. How much more of this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
there? There's a little bit. I'll finish this up. Ruffalo inherited the role from Norton, star and uncredited screenwriter of Marvel Studios' 2008 Incredible Hulk and MCU set reboot of 2003 Bana-led Hulk. Norton famously clashed with Marvel Studios. That's what I was talking about. And Ruffalo was picked as a replacement. Now, this is comicbook.com, so take it with a grain of salt, but he was picked as a replacement for 2012's Avengers, reprising the role in 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron, 2017's Thor Ragnarok, 2018's Avengers Infinity War, and this year's Endgame. Now, that's something interesting to talk about. After Norton, there was never a standalone Hulk movie.
Yeah, wasn't that a studio thing? Because isn't Hulk technically owned by Universal or something like that?
Maybe, but I just think it's interesting that we never got another individual Hulk movie after they were on actor number 3. They were like, you know what? We're just gonna have him in the background anywhere we need him.
I mean, I honestly don't think that Ruffalo could carry a Hulk movie by himself. Personally,
Yeah, I don't know. I've always liked the Hulk. The Hulk was a favorite of my father growing up, so I always read the Hulk books when they came out because they were books that I could read that I didn't have to buy with my allowance. Uh, Ruffalo's most recent turn as the character in Endgame saw the genius of Banner merge with the might of the Hulk, created an amalgamation of the two referred by the filmmakers as Smart Hulk. Borrowed from the Marvel Comics lore with the molding of the two personalities is known as Professor Hulk. Ferrigno's Hulk would have undergone a similar process in the Scrap TV sequel, Revenge of the Incredible Hulk. Before Bill died, we did the Death of the Hulk. We were planning to, in the next movie of the week, find David Banner. They bring him back to life, but this time as the Hulk, I have David Banner's brain. Interesting, Ferrigno said. David inside me functioning, I had David Banner as the Hulk. Unfortunately, Bill got sick as he passed on. It's a good question because you would have seen a whole different side of the Hulk. Also, of Bill Bixby, because that name's so weird to say, Bixby. I want to say Clayton Bigsby. You know, the Chappelle skit.
right? Yeah.
Because they were gonna go. Let's see here. Scroll down a little bit. Don't freeze up, you bastard. Thank you, OBS. Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment premieres Endgame July 30th. on digital HD and on 4K Ultra HD and Blu-ray August 13th. So that's the end of that. All that scrolling for nothing. I don't know. I like the Hulk. I like the idea of the Hulk. Um, I like Lou Ferrigno as the Hulk. I don't care one way or the other about Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. I haven't seen Endgame yet, so the Professor Hulk
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, Professor Hulk thing doesn't necessarily appeal to me.
Yeah, it was.
Go ahead.
My biggest problem with it is it was kind of just glossed over that it happened. Like they just kind of show up in a diner with the Hulk eating breakfast, like, and just speaking with Banner's voice, and he's just like, "Yeah, I spent 6 months in a gamma lab, and I merged my brain with the Hulk's brawn." And like that's it. That's the entire explanation for how it happened.
Okay.
Yeah.
Spoiler
Yeah,
alert.
we don't get to. Movie came out 2.5 months ago.
I don't give a shit. I haven't seen it. I just got done saying I haven't seen it. I even downloaded legally acquired a copy of the Cheese Cut Endgame for you to watch. But piracy is bad. Don't do it.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know. Hulk as a character is good. It's really the biggest thing is just the way he portrays Bruce Banner. Like it's fine, but there definitely been better actors in the role, and I thought it was interesting that Lou Ferrigno like came out and said that, because normally these like actor communities are pretty, like, they don't really talk bad about each other. They're always very careful to only say nice things in public, even if they don't necessarily believe them. So I don't know. I thought it was an interesting take.
Huh. No, it seemed like it was in fine spirit. I don't think that it was a malicious article, so to speak. I just think that it was a ribbing of Mark Ruffalo's Lou Ferrigno's opinion on Mark Ruffalo. I don't think it was necessarily bad. I don't think Mark Ruffalo should be offended by it.
No, I mean he shouldn't, but I mean,
honestly, I was hoping it would have been more like, yeah, Mark Ruffalo's a cuck. That's the end of the article.
That's it.
Yeah, mic drop. Maybe a video of him saying that on Twitter. That'd be great. Remind me, I need to check after the show if Lou Ferrigno has a Twitter and if he Hulk post. That'd be fantastic. Huh? Oh, it would be fantastic.
I would love that.
Yeah. Anyway, go ahead and move on to the next part of business here. Next article, if you will. Joker movie will anger comic book fans, director says. Joker is set to be a huge departure from the character. This is the new Joker movie starring the Phoenix brother, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Joaquin Phoenix.
Is it Joaquin Phoenix? I thought it was his brother.
I thought it was.
Oh,
I don't know.
I know it's one of the Phoenix guys. Said to be a huge departure from the character. According to director Todd Phillips, this was part of the intention of the film, and he believes some fans may not care for the changes in the movie of the iconic villain. Phillips revealed to Empire, that's the link there, I'll look at that later, that the new film doesn't adopt any story beats from the comics. Phillips, who also co-wrote the film, explained, "We didn't follow anything from the comic books what people are going to be mad about. I think people got over that a long time ago with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Right.
Just because they took the trappings of the comic books doesn't mean they followed them bit for bit. And to this day, a lot of people still hold up Spider-Man 2 as the best comic book movie that ever existed.
Yeah, I like the original one.
Spider-Man 1 or Spider-Man 2?
Yeah, Spider-Man 1, the first Sam Raimi one. I mean, a bit of it's nostalgia because I was a kid when it came out, but
Okay. All right.
even going back to it, it's fun and
What
goofy, and I don't
watch
know,
watch
I like
number
it.
watch number 2 again after doing this show for a couple of months and tell me if you don't think that it's a perfectly executed comic book movie.
I will. I'll do that. 'Cause it's been a while since I've watched any of those ones.
Um, anyway, he revealed the Empire, blah, blah, blah. We don't follow anything from the comic books, which people are going to be mad about. We just wrote our own version where a guy like Joker, might come from. That's what's interesting to me. We're not even doing Joker, but the story of becoming Joker. It's about this man, which that right there, like there is no this man. Like the Joker is the Joker. That's it. Fan
Yeah,
speculation about the film and its version of the Joker have been running rampant since the first trailer was released. Phillips has been open and about the film not meeting fan expectations, and many fan theories aren't going to be the case for the film. Joaquin Phoenix, okay, you're right. Robert De Niro. This is a little juicy piece here. Let's talk about Robert De Niro for a moment. You want to?
sure.
All right. So, you familiar with this Epstein shit that's going on?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, there's apparently some court documents out there saying that there may be some connection to Robert De Niro in some of those documents.
really.
Really, as hard as he went after Trump,
Huh.
there may be some connection to Robert De Niro in those documents. That'll be interesting
Oh
to see.
shit. That will be.
Uh, you think Trump might be
That
in those documents? I mean,
you
anybody's
know.
possible.
Uh, yeah,
Everybody.
I
I mean,
mean,
if he is, I mean, just like anybody else, I'll run him through the mud too. I mean, we know Clinton's in
yeah.
there, and I've
Oh
said
yeah.
previously that I didn't know this from before. Like I wasn't as plugged into politics as I am now when he got charged the first time and Clinton's name first came up. But Clinton was on that plane 26 times, and I used to like Clinton. But
Y-
if he's a fucking pedo, fuck that guy.
Yeah, and I think like 7 times or something was without
Secret
Secret
Service.
Service.
Yeah. Sorry, guys. I know we don't normally get into the regular news, but Robert De Niro came up, so I wanted to
Yeah.
put that out there that's some shit going on in the real world, and it's interesting. I think I just linked you this in the side chat, Eric.
Y- Yeah, I just saw it.
Okay. Go ahead and get it queued up. Speaking of the Joker movie, starring Joaquin Phoenix and Robert De Niro, there is an official trailer that was announced, and I don't know if it's a rehash of this trailer, if this trailer has been played before, but I figured we'd take a look at it. I've heard a lot about this movie, but I didn't want to look at it too hard. Since you brought up an
Yeah.
article about it, I figured we'd look at one finally, and I'd weigh in on this.
Yeah, I just a real quick like thought about the existence of this movie
Mm-hmm.
is isn't kind of the point of the Joker is we're not supposed to know this deep into like his backstory. He's more of an enigma and like a polar opposite like
No,
idea and figure to
no,
Batman.
no. Enigma is the Riddler. Uh, Sorry.
Thank you.
Was that funny? I don't know. I can't.
I,
Anyway,
I I thought it was amusing. But
No, but no. In the Killing Joke, you kind of get a little bit, or not the Killing Joke. What is it? Yeah, is it? You get a story at some point. I think it's in the Killing Joke. I could be wrong, but you get a story that kind of gives a basis for where the general consensus of the Joker's origin. He was a failed comedian or some kind of like middle class worker or something of that nature. And he took a job to get some money because his wife or something, either needed medicine or, she wanted money
mhm,
and he couldn't provide and she was upset with him about it or she was always sad. The speculation changes over time, but generally he hooks up with the wrong crowd of criminals and they end up hooking him into a crime by sticking him in the Red Hood costume. And then he falls into the chemicals that bleach his skin and dye his hair. And that's where the Joker is born. That's the
okay.
general consensus, but it's never been confirmed because the most recent thing that I've seen as far as the Joker's origin were back in the New 52 era, right at the end when Batman had the Mobius chair
Mhm.
and he asked the chair, "Who is the Joker?" And the chair told him that there were three Jokers.
Yeah, because I know that's been an ongoing thing lately that everyone's speculating about.
Right. So,
I don't know. It's kind of like in the Dark Knight. Like he always gives a different story about his scars, like
right.
that kind of disjointed confusion about it, and how he just kind of shows up. That always made the Joker a more interesting villain than like knowing like down to the letter like how he became that. To me, at least,
Yeah.
just just the chaotic nature of him and him just kind of like showing up and like, hey, I'm just gonna mess with shit like is way more interesting to me than knowing how he got that way, I guess.
Well, let's take a look at this trailer before the
Yeah.
people get tired of looking at the screen. I'm gonna mute my microphone.
Arthur,
All right. I'm ready when you are.
someone to talk to?
No.
Arthur, does it help to have someone to talk to?
My mother always tells me to smile and put on a happy face. She told me I had a purpose.
Okay. I'm not sure. I I really hope not. All right.
To bring laughter and joy to the world. Is it just me? Or is it getting crazier out there?
Smile, though your heart is aching. Smile, even though it's breaking. When there are clouds in the sky, you'll get by.
What?
If you smile through your fear and sorrow, smile.
Okay. Because then it would be an art house film, and no one would watch it except stuck up people at film festivals. No, I would never accuse a large studio like Warner Brothers of making something just to get money. No, I would never do that. Yeah.
And maybe tomorrow you find that life is still worthwhile. If you
What's so funny?
just
Freak?
Gotham has lost its way. What kind of coward would do something that cold-blooded? Someone who hides behind a mask.
I used to think that my life was a tragedy. But now I realize it's a comedy.
if you just smile.
Yeah. It's to me, it's kind of it's like all these stupid live action remakes. Like, why do I care? You know, we already have. Well, Mark Hamill is probably probably the best Joker that we've ever had. You know, Heath Ledger right under. Why do we need to remake this when we could just go back and watch Batman the Animated Series and get that wonderful performance? Still, I mean, either way, like, I don't know. It's just it looks boring and stupidly pointless to me.
My mic's been muted again. Sorry, guys. That was really pointless. I muted myself so that we could watch that. Jesus Christ. I'm so bad at this. Why am I so awful? Basically, I just said that this is something that would really interest me as a whole. I feel like, I know it's happening again. God damn it. I use that little mute button in OBS now so that I can kind of get used to it. Oh, yeah. There's a. They've already hit me with a copyright. Playing that trailer. That's fantastic. What? Oh yeah, copyrighted audio in the video in your stream. Your stream may be temporarily blocked. Fuck them. No, I've been using the button in OBS to mute to get used to doing it instead of using my mute switch on my headset, and it keeps fucking me every time because I forget that I've done it, and I look down at my headset and it's unmuted, and I'm like, obviously they can hear me. We need a producer. That's what we need.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, I don't want to fucking
Just
I don't want to have to do work to make this happen. Come on. But basically, it doesn't look like a Joker movie that I want to see. It pointless. The the last thing that we found out about the Joker is that there were 3 Jokers, and the closest thing we've ever gotten to an origin was what you talked about in like Batman: The Dark Knight, and I think it might have been The Killing Joke, where they talked about the origin of the Joker as the Red Hood.
That sounds right,
But
but
that's the closest thing we ever needed too, though, because I think a big part of the allure of the character is not knowing his origin for such a long amount of time. Like, he is the exact incarnation of anarchy and chaos.
yeah, and it's basically just like he shows up just to be the polar opposite of Batman, and it makes their interactions interesting because we know so much of Batman's history and everything, and then having this complete opposite figure where we know nothing virtually. We have some ideas of it. It's a really interesting juxtaposition and makes like their rivalry stand out, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. But in any event, we do have one more point of business on the Joker before we move on. This is a little bit better though. This is a little more exciting, at least for me. John Carpenter co-writing a Joker book at DC Comics. DC Comics has announced legendary action and horror writer and director John Carpenter teaming up with Borderlands 2 writer Anthony Birch. Two of my all-time favorites being John Carpenter's Dracula. I don't know. I know his name shows up on a lot of movies that I end up liking. And Borderlands 2 was probably the best Xbox 360 game there was ever. Fight me. To pen a special one-shot comic entitled Joker, The Year of the Villain.
I like the title.
Yeah.
And if this is some either cover art or art that's going to be in the book, that does look fun.
The official logline for the comic reads as followed. Now a human-alien hybrid, Lex Luthor has made his appeal to the world, asking his citizens to embrace doom and give it once and for all pure evil. Humanity's true nature, he says. In exchange, he will grant them the tools to ascend to their ultimate selves. While some DC villains and heroes are willing to hear what Apex Lex has to offer, the Clown Prince of Crime isn't going to wait around until Lex gets to him. This puts the Joker on a mission to get his swagger back in a world gone bad by outbatting everyone else, proving that the greatest evil is always the one that leaves them laughing. Already, I want to read it.
That does sound great.
This comic marks the DC Comics debut for the duo. However, it is not the first time the two have worked together, as Birch and Carpenter previously collaborated in 2017 comic series Big Trouble in Little China Old Man Jack, an extension of Carpenter's classic action film with Kurt Russell's Jack Burton comes out of retirement to defeat the ancient god Chi-Dai. Purchase a copy of The Joker, a celebration of 75 years here. The Joker is the greatest villain in comic, Carpenter said. I'm proud to be reunited with Anthony on this project. I'm excited beyond words to be working with Gotham's greatest villain, Birch said. I hope the Joker's exploits make you laugh, shudder, and grow nauseous all at once. The 40-page one-shot comic set to hit the digital and physical shelves on Wednesday, October 9th for only $5. Only $5, Ayrton.
Oh boy, we get a whole what?
40
extra
pages.
8 pages?
Yeah. Well, no, it's 18 pages, but still.
Huh.
Printed on newsprint, you cucks.
But then it wouldn't be shiny or in color.
Oh.
Just saying.
Newsprints in color? You can print
Yeah.
color on newsprint. What are you talking
That's true.
about?
Well, when people think newspaper, it's black and white.
Didn't you buy some Alterna comics?
I did. They're in color. Shut up. That's besides the point.
You're fired. I don't know why. I'm just gonna mute myself again.
Come on.
I'm gonna fire you.
Come on. Like, what's black and white and red all over a newspaper?
The 8-year-old boy in the trunk of my car.
What are you, Brian? What are you, Brian Singer? Are you directing the next X-Men franchise now?
I'm sorry. That's the flash from the past. One of those jokes. Like I like my women, like I like my coffee, ground up in the freezer.
Oh, I still no pubic hair.
What?
I like my women like I like my coffee. No pubic hair.
Jesus Christ. That's good. We already been copyright struck.
In the coffee.
Go ahead and copyright this. Please direct your ad revenue to the stream. Please tell them that this is the content that you wanted to represent as yours.
You know, we were going to get paid promotions, in the next couple weeks, but I think that's over.
Were we? I don't think so.
You were supposed to just play along with it.
Oh no. No, I don't play about money, son.
Fair enough.
Let's see what this notification is. Did they get?
Uh-oh.
I don't know. No, nothing. I'll probably have an email. I don't know. Fucking put ads on this video, please. For the love of God, send your advertisers to this.
Now, since we got a copyright strike, does that like officially?
No, it's not a strike. We got claimed by the algorithm. The algorithm recognized the content and hit it preemptively. I think it's not a strike.
I gotcha.
It's a claim. That means that if we were able to monetize this video, the revenue would go to them. But because we're not monetized, I don't know if they can put their ads on the video, but if they do, for the love of God, please.
I mean, I can keep making even worse jokes if we want to go that route for the next hour of the show.
I don't think so here. We got one more article. We got one more interesting thing to look at. And this is actually a little more comic book related. It's a little more independent related. We've talked about it off air before, but one of my favorite series that I've ever read was called Criminal by Ed Brubaker. And it's apparently still kind of ongoing. He'll put a couple of new parts to it out every now and again, and apparently we're getting into a new one that I was completely unaware of, and we'll have to pick up. But new thriller explores the criminal side of Comic-Con. So this is another Forbes article. I love finding comic book articles on Forbes. Apparently one of their writers just has a big hard-on for comic books.
We should start making note of who the writers are anytime we find an article and see if it's like the same like two or three people.
Just slipping their agenda in.
Yeah.
Just a brief aside. Criminal it's a crime noir story. It's the story of how essentially anybody can be a good guy and a bad guy at the same time. Even the bank robber can be made into the protagonist of the story, which is essentially the Ocean's movies. But imagine the Ocean's movies if they had been written by Frank Miller. And for those of you who don't know what that means,
definitely sounds interesting.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know what that means, imagine the Ocean's movies where instead of being lighthearted and fun, it was written by the same guy that wrote Watchmen. No, that wasn't Miller. Sin City. Sin City. I'm pretty sure everybody saw Sin City, right?
Mm,
Did you see?
yeah, I think I saw that one.
Okay. I'm about to say, Jesus Christ. It was the black and white movie with the color red and yellow, like heavily prominent.
Yeah.
Bruce Willis and Jessica Alba, I believe. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah.
when more than 150,000 fans descend to San Diego Comic-Con or San Diego next week for the 50th edition of San Diego Comic-Con, most are there for a good time and a carnival atmosphere. However, huge sums of money change hands at the convention as well, especially in the increasingly high-stakes world of comic art, where desirable pages can bring tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars, and collectors go to extreme lengths to track down grail pieces from dealers. Often those quests are complicated by moral morose of the comic book industry, where mistreatment of creators and theft of art was commonplace for decades. What happens when you combine desperation, big money, and moral ambiguity against the backdrop of a glitzy event with a steamy underbelly? A steamy underbelly? Maybe that meant steamy? I don't know. You get Bad Weekend, the latest thriller in the criminal series of hard-boiled graphic novels by writer Ed Brubaker and artist Sean Phillips, with colors by Jacob Phillips. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, shouldn't it say seedy underbelly?
I don't know. It should say something not seamy, I think.
I'm thinking like, somebody was sewing a pair of trousers and like sewed too many seams in it.
Yeah. Brubaker was a fan favorite who created Marvel's Winter Soldier during a memorable run writing Captain America. Created Winter Soldier. Not Bucky. Remember, not Bucky.
Are you there?
Yeah, I had to
Oh.
wish my son off to bed.
Ah.
Anyway, among many other accomplishments in the business, knows the world of comics and Comic-Con inside out. In Bad Weekends, he blends industry lore, Comic-Con atmosphere, and his own gritty view of human nature in a compelling, concise summertime thriller. Now, let me stop for a second and explain this. Do you watch The Dick Show? Dick Masterson?
No, I usually just see clips pop up.
Okay. Um, an episode a long time ago had a guy on. I don't remember his name, but he got into it with Pete Saliva and stopped calling in. One of the things that he did when he called in was say that I can make a better movie. I can write a better movie than The Hangover 2. And then he attempted to do it. So Dick Masterson had a guy come in and grade the movie when he wrote it, an actual like agent or something like that. And it was obviously terrible because it was his first script. But you know, the premise of it was actually pretty interesting. It was called The Long Con, and it was about like a huge drug deal that took place at Comic Con, and everything went wrong.
Huh.
So that's the feeling I get from just reading this description. I'm like, did these motherfuckers steal his idea?
How great would that be?
Absolutely. Set in 1997, one of the last years that SDCC was merely the world's biggest comic book convention and not the epicenter of the entertainment industry, Bad Weekend follows an aging artist named Hal Crane who is slated to receive the Lifetime Achievement Award at the con. Like many artists who worked in the early days of the comic industry, Crane, who appears largely based on a real-life artist named Alex Toth, harbors a few illusions about the glamour and excitement, or harbors few illusions about the glamour and excitement of the medium, despite being celebrated for his talent by fans and fellow professionals. The convention recruits Crane's former assistant Jacob to babysit him during the show and try to make sure he shows up to panels and events he's scheduled for. That's not a plum assignment. Crane is a mean drunk, dripping with contempt for everyone and everything, and desperate enough for cash to get involved with pretty sketchy folks. Soon enough, the pair get embroiled in a caper involving art theft, violence, intrigue rooted in a decades-old mystery. So, first off, this looks fantastic.
That does sound awesome.
We're gonna have to read the first part of Criminal first before we get into this.
And scrolling down to the next section of the article, I see the word prostitution. So
yeah. I mean, you know how we do.
Yeah.
So, let's scroll too far. Because Brubaker knows his material so well, Bad Weekend is full of Easter eggs for sharp-eyed readers with the knowledge of the world of Comic-Con and comic art. For example, one of highly competitive art collectors depicted in the book, a character named David Mandrill, bears a close resemblance to Veep and Curb Your Enthusiasm showrunner David Mandel. Oh, that's on the nose. Highlights of whose collection was recently on loan as part of the Marvel Universe of Superheroes Museum exhibition. He and Brubaker, who write and produces for TV as well as comics, are reportedly pal. I feel like this comic I've been writing in my head most of my career, said Brubaker. Hal Crane isn't based on anyone in particular, but bits and pieces of his history are lifted from sad tales and sordid gossip that you hear over the years in this business, especially about the old days: gambling, drinking, prostitution, theft, death. There's always been a darkness at the edge of comics, and I wanted to explore that in Bad Weekend. It's like, is this an expose of the industry? Sort of, but it's a love letter to the medium as well. Bad Weekend paints an acid-etched portrait of fandom, comic professionals, and the Comic-Con itself, one that rings true with anyone with connections to the industry and culture. As comic and comic art have grown prominent, the latter has become a very big money business indeed. It's important to keep it real when the industry to the shady dealing and complicit legacies inform the roots of the industry. It's also entertaining as hell. After more than a dozen years of the award-winning comic noir series, Brubaker and Phillips know how to blend their art and storytelling styles into a polished page-turner. Bad Weekend from Image Comics will be available in comic shops on Wednesday, July 10th, and available in bookstores Tuesday, July 16th. It'll make a fine summer read for anyone who's heading to Comic-Con next week or wishes they were. So, that's the news for this week. What do you think about that book? You interested in looking at it? You looking at Criminal as a whole?
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of fun. Ever since we started with Lock and Key, however long ago that was, I've been enjoying a lot of those, like Midnight Mysteries from Alterna, just to plug them.
Peter Scimetti at
which Volume 2 is
at a Comic-Con this weekend as well. Check him out on Twitter.
Yeah,
big things.
He was posting pictures. But yeah, and volume 2 of Midnight Mysteries, I believe the first issue came out this week.
Yeah, you should have it if you don't already. Oh wait, you haven't ordered it. So
no, I'm gonna wait till. Well, I'm gonna look and see if there's other stuff I want to order. Just wait till it's done. So I think part like the first volume. So
yes, I agree with everything.
But definitely, God damn it, I have good signal.
You roboted for a second there.
Oh, okay. But yeah, definitely, if you like this kind of story, but like a little bit of a supernatural twist, check out Midnight Mysteries. It's a good one.
Got a couple of books that we looked at this week. We're not gonna linger too long on them because we want everybody to be able to get out and get to part 2 of the Vic Mignogna deposition. Before we get into that, though, a couple of announcements, new things, things that Ayrton and I have talked about, things we might not have. You don't know. He might not know.
I might not. I drink a lot of Guinness.
You're fired. Just had to slip it in there. Seriously though, next week, you may have seen Atomic Denny post about it earlier. I put a question out about it earlier this week. I've recently picked up a collection of all of the Amalgam comics from 1996 and 1997. I want to review Amalgam comics and look at those comics in depth, and maybe we can, maybe we can get through it in a weekend. Break it up into series. We may have to do a couple of shows on it. Denny has said he wanted to come on.
Yeah.
So we'll have a third on those shows.
So you and me can just get like blackout drunk and let him rant for 2 hours?
Yeah, absolutely. That was my plan.
Okay. Just making sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I do every week anyway. He's just sometimes not here to rant. That's not my problem.
True.
Also, next week, probably, well, first off, next week, Monday, possibly, if planned, we've got it on the cards. Next week on Monday, we will have Thor Odinson on Twitter, promoting his new indie comic that is not yet on Indiegogo, but we're going to be showing off some artwork.
Oh, off Twitter, I thought we were going to do some pagan ritual and actually like summon Thor to come on.
I didn't say we weren't going to do a pagan ritual to get him on the stream. I just said that he also follows me on Twitter.
Just as long as we get to sacrifice a virgin in a forest during the summer solstice, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be Monday night, so we'll have a third show this week off the rip, but we may have a fourth show coming on Wednesday. I'm going to have to talk to a couple of people about this, but I think if what I understand to be correct is that we can broadcast some of the old radio shows from like the 30s and 40s without worry of copyright or strikes or anything like that. So we may start doing that one night a week if that's something that you guys might be interested in. Let me know. We've got old episodes of The Shadow, Superman, Batman, Blue Beetle. A lot of comic book properties had radio shows back then because TV wasn't a thing.
And remember, Abbott and Costello had a pretty successful radio show that's fantastic. And they actually, well, hold on. They do. They did a short little series called Detective Sam Shovel, and it's in that crime noir thing, and it's actually kind of funny. Could be just throwing it out there. Could be kind of fun for 1 week. Check it out. You might like it.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see what the people want. If the people like it, we'll do it more. If they don't like it, we won't do it anymore.
True.
But that's something to look forward to. We may be expanding out and doing a few more shows this coming week, and we'll look at the Wednesday format and see if that's something you guys might be interested in, continuously doing. But that's the plan for right now. Amalgam next week, at least part of the week, and a Monday and a Wednesday show this coming week. So strap in. You're going to be with me a lot over the next few days. And I'm not sorry for it.
I mean, we typically talk off air Monday and Wednesdays anyways. So
Yeah, that means we're going to have to talk. That means you're going to have to talk to me more this week because we're still going to have to plan the weekend.
True.
So you
It's gonna
regretting
be a
that
crazy
shit?
week, and I'm down to it. No, but I am down to employees, so this is gonna be interesting.
Wait, why are you down to employees? Did they quit in your absence?
No, it's a long story.
Oh, I want to hear it off air, but yeah, we'll
Yeah.
get to it then. I forget that we're talking to people on the internet sometimes.
That's okay. It's more natural when we just don't act like we're talking to people.
All right, so we're gonna get into the reviews, and with my confusion, I have read a comic book that Eric has not this week. But this was suggested to me from someone at my local comic shop. Actually, I was there. I was putting the books together on Wednesday, and while I have no problem with Dark Horse, I have no clue what Black Hammer is. Just nothing I ever got into. But I also usually don't read DC stories. So when I saw this, I was just like, oh, okay. Put it in the bag and board, put it up on the shelf. Um, but he came in and he picked it up and he was like, I've been waiting on this. And I was like, you really expect it to be good? He was like, well, Black Hammer is really good. So I was like, okay. And we conversed for a little while, and he convinced me that it might be something that I should look into. So I did. So this is Black Hammer Justice League number 1 of 6, crossover comic, and it was interesting. I mean, I don't hate it. Uh, I feel the way I do about it about most crossover comics. The first issue always seems like a little bit of a cop out. Like, I feel like that first issue needs to be a double issue, at least for my purposes. This is the reason that I wait to read stories until they're completed. Like, I want to read more than the first issue offers in a miniseries often. Not necessarily because it's so good that I want to keep reading. It's just that I don't feel like I got a full piece of a story out of this. It's kind of like reading the first chapter of a book and then realizing there's a paywall for the rest of it. You might be willing to give this book a chance based on what you've seen, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're enticed to keep reading by what you've seen, right? Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah. No, I got it. It's
like you wouldn't necessarily stop reading because of anything you've seen, but if you couldn't read without paying money, you might not read anymore.
it's like what was it that Wolverine exit wounds? Like, it wasn't intriguing enough to keep going with the story, but it's kind of like, that was it.
Right. No,
so
I liked it just fine. Just to kind of look at it a little closer. We'll skim through it a little bit and give everybody an idea of what's going on. One thing that I do want to point out is, they do a pretty good job of introducing the characters to somebody who's never read Black Hammer. Now, you don't know how they got in the situation that they're in here, but, it goes through the intro. This group been at this house on this planet for 10 years or whatever. A couple of them are fucking around with the tractor trying to get off the planet. One of them's completely okay with being there. My children are losing their fucking minds. I can hear them.
It won't be one of our shows without it.
Absolutely no. They should be asleep by now, though. That's what's bothering me. It's past their bedtime, but they're still up raising a ruckus. I think it's because they know I'm not going to get
I do
up
have to say
and yell at them.
Sure. And I was just gonna say, I love that Starro is in this.
Oh yeah. Now, at first, I wanted to. At first, I saw that, and we'll get to that. But when I first saw that, like, we're gonna have to be careful with this book because there's a lot that I would want to show you to kind of explain everything. But it
Yeah.
gives you an introduction to who these characters are. Um, I'm terrible with fucking names, but Abraham is the main guy, the old guy on screen holding a cup of coffee. He's also the
That says sweet
superhero.
jumping Joseph.
What?
He says sweet jumping Joseph on
Yeah,
the first page.
yeah. He was also a costumed hero. Um, but there was a great cataclysm supposedly, and they found themselves in a strange land, but they were not alone. There's a character named Walkie Talkie that seems like to be a Mr. Freeze type robot. Um, there's a Barb Alien is his name. That's the red colored guy.
With the antenna.
Yeah. Gail is the young girl stumbling in. She's actually 60 years old in the body of a 10-year-old. And let's see who's the other guy.
You know, isn't that what Epstein said in his defense?
What? Oh, that they
That
yeah
she's actually
yeah
a 60-year-old just in the
yeah
body
yeah
of a
yeah
10-year-old.
yeah that's yeah. God damn
I'm pretty sure that came out the other day.
you. You're awful. Dragonfly is another character in this. She's a floating mystic character off screen right now. There's another character called Colonel something. I can't remember if they say his last name yet, but he's called Colonel something, and he just poofs out of nowhere from nowhere and then floats around upside down for some reason. That's not truly explained or anything.
Interesting.
Yeah. But they introduce you to these characters and they introduce you to the situation, and then you flash over to the Justice League, and the Justice League are doing their thing, fighting Starro, trying to quell the situation. And what do you know? Oh, before that happens, these characters are introduced to this man, and I'll pull him up in a moment.
With the bowler hat and the briefcase.
Yeah. Um, that guy just stumbles up, and you can obviously tell he's up to no good. That guy, I don't know if you remember this series of books from when you were younger, but there were some young adult horror books that weren't really horror books, but they marketed them as somewhat scary. Like middle schoolers and older elementary schoolers would read them. There was one called Professor Pumpkin's Prodigious Polish. That's what this reminds me of. That's what this guy makes me think of, is a skeezy salesman.
I don't know that one.
It's a skeezy salesman that has something that's obviously just going to ruin your day.
Well, I mean, naturally, look at that mustache.
Right. Well, it's not a Hitler stash, so I mean, he could be okay.
True.
So we switch over to the Justice League, and they're fighting Starro, and just quelling his threat. And then this guy comes to them too. So, and you see the side by side conversation take place of what's going on in the DC universe versus what's going on in the Dark Horse universe. And that's a pretty interesting transition. Like side by side at the same time in the comic, this character's talking to both of them. There's a good shot of that here. And then they switch places. And then the intro basically repeats itself with the Justice League, with Superman being Abraham and Batman being the one to convert the tractor into an interdimensional antenna, but it's the exact same intro from the beginning. So it's very interesting in that regard, and I want to know more about this guy. Like, I want to know, is he in a like? This makes me want to go back and read up on Black Hammer. So
Yeah. Great Krypton.
right, yeah. So all in all, I mean, it's a pretty good book. I know you haven't read it, but do you have any thoughts on it? On what you've seen so far, besides the fact that introduced or using Starro, and I did check, it's not supposed to be Starro's first appearance. This is
okay.
Yeah, this is a later appearance of Starro. But I thought it would have been interesting. Like, I thought it would have been funny as shit if this was supposed to be taking place at the same time as the first appearance of the Justice League. That would have been
That would have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I was hoping for when I first saw Starro, just flipping through this real quick. But
right, but that not be the
at
case.
first I was bummed Green Lantern wasn't in it until that last shot with the
so
on the to be continued page.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks cool. I really like the art style in it. It has kind of like that old, like, late 70s to mid 80s kind of style that I really like.
It doesn't look over digitally saturated to me. Like, you can tell it's digitally colored, I think. I could be wrong, but it looks digitally colored. But it almost looks like it's done in a watercolor style.
Yeah.
And I really like it.
Yeah.
It's not very, it doesn't, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't look like it was done by a graphic designer. Not to shit on graphic designers.
Yeah, it looks like it was,
but it doesn't look like it's meant to be on a t-shirt. It looks like it's meant to be in a comic book.
Yeah, it looks like an artist actually sat down and colored in all of this by hand.
Yeah. Which, I mean, they do digitally as well. Don't misrepresent.
Yeah, well, with an analog instrument for coloring.
I disagree there. It doesn't look like analog coloring, but it looks like it's as close as we're going to get in a digital world. How about that? How about we meet in that middle?
Okay. Yeah, I got, like, the style of, like, the shading and, like, the actual palette of the colors is more of that, like, that kind of style versus the, well, in the next book, like the super shiny, bright, in your face kind of coloring of the next book we're about to look in.
You picked this book.
I did pick this book.
Hold on one second. I accidentally opened one of my art programs, and I had to make sure that didn't, crash my computer.
I mean, that would be about on par for this episode, yeah?
Yeah, it would. But in my defense, even Nikki Rackets, who is up next, and also the Dead Man Tome may still be streaming. They were simul streaming with us at one point. I don't know if they're still on or just getting on. But
those jerks. Yeah. What the hell, Jesse?
Hey man, there's enough airspace for all of us.
I know, but I have to give them shit.
I don't mind the replay viewers.
That's true.
I'd rather them be watching live so I can interact with them in chat. But
yeah, Speaking of interacting, should we tell people the little thing at the interaction earlier this week?
The what? What are you saying?
The miniseries from someone who follows us on Twitter, a creator.
Oh, someone we follow. Well, let's get that locked in first.
We'll do it at the end.
No, let's get that locked in first. Let's get that scheduled down.
Yeah, okay.
First, before we spoil that night. We'll give a little tease. We may have a
that's what I meant. Just a little tease.
We may have a comic creator on the show, a veteran of the industry, if you will.
And someone who is way too gracious with us on Twitter.
Yeah.
I just need to say that.
Way too what?
Gracious with us on Twitter.
Yeah. Anyway, this is what Ayrton picked out because he's a terrible person. To be completely honest, I didn't hate this. I did not hate it.
Yeah. So what I'll say, yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about the art, but so this versus Exit Wounds. This I actually am kind of curious to. Well, this one I actually want to keep reading because the story's interesting.
Yeah.
Like that kind of that like buddy cop mystery sort of like underlying theme with it.
Right.
That I always enjoy that when you get two different characters like this together.
A lot of times it does, not to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
A lot of times it does, seem really interesting when you see Wolverine and Captain America like side by side in any situation really, because they're just so
yeah,
dynamically different. But
right,
people don't realize they have a very storied history. They fought together in
oh yeah,
they fought together in World War II.
Yeah, when he was known as Lucky Jim from the Canadian Infantry.
Yeah. These two have a past, and Wolverine, the program Weapon X that created Wolverine, which you'll find out in the story, is also the program that used Steve Rogers essentially as a prototype for that program. But
because there's been other explanations for the Weapon X program too. Yeah. So I'm not really sure where, like, canonically this actually is going to end up falling, but I'm kind of interested to see.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Mostly just because I've been, I've been following Wolverine since I was a kid, so seeing like how they're going to take this is interesting to me.
Well, that's why I'm going to let you kind of lead the walkthrough of talking about this, and you're just going to tell me when you need me to put it on whatever pages. But
okay,
I did want to say that even though we don't know canonically where this falls in the story of Wolverine and or Captain America, I would like to say that I don't think that it's current because of the confusion of these two characters and their whereabouts and whatnot. Is Wolverine, like proper Wolverine, still back? Like, I haven't kept up with X-Men
is this
comics.
like? Oh yeah, like after they brought him back,
right?
After the death of Wolverine, or is this before this?
Well, the thing is, both of these characters have died in the last decade.
Sure. Judging
part of their
judging
powers.
Judging by Wolverine's costume design, I'm gonna say it's before that.
Yeah.
Because it's the brown and yellow costume as opposed to the black and gray like X-Force or the classic like blue and yellow.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, all right. Well, go ahead. It's on you.
Yeah. All right. So we open up Steve Rogers waxing poetic about New York City, as he tends to do.
Right.
And basically gives you kind of an overview of who he is. Like, we really need that introduction at this point. I thought that was a little goofy, but a couple of people shout like, hey, Captain America, and then a giant ship crashes out of nowhere, and Wolverine falls out of it with half of his arm like cut.
Yeah.
Like almost in half.
Right.
And this is one of the things that I like really anytime these two are brought together is, as we said, just the difference in their personalities, yet they're kind of the same. Where Wolverine, his first line to him is, "Hey Rogers, I'd say it's always good to see you, but this has been a real bad day and it ain't likely to get better soon." Like,
Yeah.
you know, to me that's like that's Wolverine's personality, like in a nutshell.
Well, at least
Right
it's
there.
his current personality. He probably would have sworn 10 years ago, but what are you going to do?
True. And, you know, he probably would have been smoking or something. Which, that really pisses me off that they don't depict him smoking anymore.
They occasionally do. It's just been cut back.
Yeah.
I think when he came back the first time after the the Infinity War or whatever that they tried to put into the comic books to tie in with the movies a little bit and somehow stay canonical. I think that part of it was Wolverine came back with an Infinity Stone and nobody knew how he got that stone, and he was smoking a cigar when he came back. Okay. I'm not mistaken, he was smoking a cigar in that first panel that he was back in. So I think it depends on who's writing him and when and all that good stuff.
True. I know it was a big thing in Marvel where they were like, we're going to cut down on the smoking because, you know, we don't want kids to start smoking cigars. Because heaven forbid. Anyways. So we cut to a hologram of a former X-Force member called Phantomex. Yep. Phantomex. I don't know.
Phantomex. Yeah. I like him. He's fun.
Yeah, I've only read a little bit with him in it, so I don't really know him as a character as much.
All right, we'll put it on the list. We got to read that X-Force series with him in it, where they have Baby Apocalypse.
And it's another good. I will have to say the dialogue is pretty good throughout most of this between the two of them, like the back and forth.
Well, I didn't think of it until you said it, but it really is a buddy cop. I mean, it is a buddy cop kind of book, and I do appreciate that about it. Now, it does. They do the fighty, but what are they trying to figure out? Like, what's the overarching mystery that they uncover?
Yeah. So basically, Phantomex has been apparently tracking the Weapons Plus program that they thought first just experimented on Wolverine, and then him and X-23 and Deadpool and whatnot.
Nuke.
Who else? Nuke. Yeah. But go to find out, and he finds this actually started with Captain America.
Right.
Now the one thing I have to one line from Wolverine real quick. I'll explain after all the stabbing.
Yeah. And let's not forget the boomer moment later on when.
I was gonna get to that, especially after how today's just been going.
Yeah. Phantomex is telling him about an algorithmic virus, and Steve Rogers looks at Wolverine and says, "Algorithmic virus," and Wolverine's like, "Don't look at me. I'm even older than you are."
I definitely laugh at that part. That, and when Wolverine says that Phantomex's French accent is fake. He just does it because he thought the accent sounded cool.
Yeah.
But so one interesting thing that I liked about it is it's not necessarily that that Project Rebirth directly evolved into Weapon Plus, but progressively, like, each new iteration was inspired by the first.
Right.
Which, at first I thought, like, for the concept of it, I thought, like, okay, so Weapon Plus goes all the way back to Project Rebirth, and it's been kind of a shady conspiracy this whole time. But no, it's kind of like each iteration is inspired by it, and it's kind of like a domino effect.
Right.
Which I thought was a really good twist. And we have a short flashback to 1953 during the Korean War.
Yeah.
Which would be page 15, I guess.
Oh, I've already picked the next 2 pages I'm going to bring up. Just keep talking.
Okay. All right.
If the screen share is still up, you'll see them. You see what they are.
Yeah, well, I'm flipping through the digital comics just so I can follow the story.
Oh no, you don't have to give the full read of it, but go ahead, keep going like you're going.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So
what 1953?
So we have this.
You said.
Yeah, 1953, page 15. We have this guy. He's wanting to volunteer for the new Project Rebirth, if you will. He wants to be the next Captain America because Cap and Bucky have died, quote unquote, at this point.
Yeah, and he was someone that was really inspired by Captain America.
Yeah, he was basically a Captain America fanboy back during World War II.
And that's one of the things that Phantom X is talking about in the recording, is he's explaining how he's having to pass this investigation off to Captain America and Wolverine because he was killed during it. But this is what he's uncovered since then. And while they're talking about the inspiration of Captain America that he brought on, you find this one scientist guy. Go ahead.
And please tell me you have page 17 ready to be pulled up.
Oh no, I've got to conserve these 2 pages. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Let me see what 17 is. It might be worth it.
Yeah. So Phantom X goes to explain all this to them and gives them
17. 17's ready.
Okay, good, because that's just fantastic.
Right. Yeah,
it's just it's wonderfully ludicrous.
Yeah.
So his hologram message leads them to this base with a bunch of experiments, and they look like Bacta tanks from Star Wars.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing, so what I liked about the big shot of the laboratories, you see a box labeled Oscorp and Roxxon and Stain, but then you also see on the chalkboard notes, and you see N Fury as a lead, quote unquote, on one of these. You see a trigger word, and then it cuts to probably the greatest thing ever. Do you have this pulled up yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay. A partially decomposed cybernetic bear monster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who comes to life and attacks the 2 of them, just saying "kill you" over and over.
Mm-hmm. But they eventually stop it, even though it's already dead and essentially being remote controlled. So Captain America finds another shield somewhere. I don't know where he gets the triangle shield. That could be something different. But he had his round shield in the beginning, and now he's got a triangle shield that he's using to stab this fucking thing through the radio receiver. But they eventually dispose of it.
And then we learn that the scientist guy from the 50s, we flash in his story forward to the 70s and find out he's been experimenting on himself.
Right.
And then see Wolverine, actually 1974, in a tank.
Mm-hmm.
And then we jump to them in the Alps.
In a different laboratory.
Yes.
This one's already
and
been.
they
This one's already been like ransacked and people have been killed. And you see a screen,
freshly killed, as Wolverine notes.
right? And you see a screen that says Weapon X, X, X. Data extracted. So Weapon Triple X. So Vin Diesel is the ultimate weapon.
Oh, I was thinking it was going to be like a super powered porn star.
No. Well, is there a difference?
You know, kind of like love's like I was thinking like Love Sausage from The Boys.
Okay. No. It's definitely Vin Diesel or Exhibit. I think Exhibit was in Triple X at one point. Maybe.
Was he?
I don't know. It was a rapper of some kind.
Huh. I don't. No idea.
God, I haven't seen those movies in a long time.
Yeah, me either. I haven't watched Pimp My Ride in forever either.
Oh man. How do you know if he put speakers in your speakers so you could listen while you were listening?
Man, that show was the shit in the early 2000s.
Well, to get back to the point at hand, we find a Captain America clone type thing with a makeshift like ragdoll Jack Skellington type suit. Stitches running all through it and whatnot, and he's apparently been the one killing off the people in this lab, and basically because they're all commies. So I'm not sure whether or not to vote, like root for this Captain America or not. Like,
right?
You know, we should really do something about the commies, but maybe this is a bit too far. Maybe mass genocide isn't the answer, but it definitely isn't. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke, you bastards.
And tearing one of their heads off and sitting on a pile of corpses, holding it like a Shakespeare play.
A little bit overkill.
Yeah.
Sounds like something.
I mean, I admire his theatrics
and enthusiasm,
but a little bit overboard.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But that's
a little bit overboard.
Is that not the not the scientist, but is that not the guy from the 50s?
No, because he's the one.
Adam. His name was Adam, right?
The scientist we actually
you see
find out he's actually been watching. Yeah, he's actually watching them, and you see a giant tank behind him with like a gnarly hand with like claws hanging off of it and the glass cracking. And he says, "Oh, Captain, you have forgotten your true purpose. What you once stood for, forgotten, following your footsteps.
You're
Don't worry, I'll remind you."
You're roboting a little bit.
Of course.
Try again.
Am I good?
Yeah.
Okay. So it ends with a kind of dramatic line with that shot of the giant tank. It's, "Oh, Captain, you have forgotten your true purpose, what you once stood for. Forgotten what inspired me to follow in your footsteps. Don't worry, I'll remind you." And it just kind of ends there with Wolverine and Cap riding on Phantom X's weird ship thing.
Yeah. So, I'll show one more page of this. I do want to. There's the final page there. I do want to kind of try and decipher some of these symbols. Because this. This says next weapon plus weapons free. So I don't know what these symbols mean, because we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8, and 9 that are on the board. So I know that
Right.
Venom in the middle, I believe, because his name was on the board.
Which is,
let me go back to
yeah.
that chalkboard.
And I don't know, I feel like 2 has to be either Sabretooth or Mastodon from like the 80s and 90s.
Now it does say, now we have a key, actually. I'm sorry. We have a key on that chalkboard on page 16. We've got where it says delayed projects.
Oh. Ah.
So 2 is brute force. It doesn't say what 4. Well, it says 4 is sulfur, but that looks like the man thing to me. So I guess that's brute force, sulfur. 5 is venom, which is, it matches up. 6 is power. Maybe Power Man. That looks like his tiara.
Oh yeah, it does.
And then Psyche, but I don't know what that mask is. I don't know who that's for.
And then we have one that says homegrown too, which we don't see.
Right. That one's not that one's not on the board, or on the weapons free like page here.
Yeah. So, see, but based on the symbol for 9, you would almost think Deadpool, because it has like the comedy tragedy mask, but Deadpool came after Wolverine, so that doesn't make sense.
Right, he was 11.
But yeah, that was my initial thought. But then I was like, well, that doesn't work.
At first, I thought Psycho
but brute
Pirate,
force. But I mean, brute force could mean Sabretooth.
Maybe.
It could just be a like an early just based off the symbol. It's like a cat, like a large cat print.
Yeah, like a bear cat.
Yeah. So I don't know. Those little hints throughout the book, I found fascinating. That, and that they're on weapon.
30.
One, whatever. Yeah, 130.
No, it's weapon 30.
Or weapon 30.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I'm fascinated by it. I'm gonna keep reading it. I think it's already better than Wolverine Infinity Watch, which was pretty good for what it for how it ended and whatnot. So.
Weapon 7 was Nuke, aka Project Homegrown. Oh shit. Weapon number 2. Get this. This is on the Wikipedia for the Weapons Plus program. Weapon number 2.
Okay.
A squirrel with Wolverine's adamantium skeleton, claws, intelligence, and healing factor, along with a squirrel's bushy tail and a visor.
What the hell?
That's weapon number 2.
Okay.
Weapon number 4 says unknown, but from that symbol, I've got to say it's Man Thing.
Does it not say in the Weapons Plus wiki?
No. Weapon 0 is classified. Weapon 4, 5, and 6. Weapon number 8. Weapon number 12 are all unknown.
Oh, that was the other thing that I thought was kind of interesting. There was also one of the characters also quoted Abraham Lincoln about Wolverine, which I thought was kind of interesting too.
What now?
One of the characters has a quote about Wolverine attributed to Abraham Lincoln in the story.
Oh,
So there's throughout this whole thing, there's a bunch of like little stuff like that, like kind of showing you like how long he's actually been around, and
yeah.
like the links between all these different characters. I thought it was fun.
Right. Oh, my friend, you'll play a bigger role than Captain America ever could have imagined. One day I'll be gone, and you'll finish your dream. You'll finish building what Abraham Lincoln called the last great hope on earth.
Yeah.
And they're looking at Wolverine. So yeah, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And the weapons project, I think, is intriguing enough that this is something that they could definitely like pull back from. And we know that Jonathan Hickman's taking over X-Men. We'll talk a little bit more in depth about that tomorrow, I think, because I guess we can go ahead and tell the people tomorrow we're going to be doing the Secret Wars 2015 volume of X-Men 92, as well as the post Secret Wars 2019 or 2015 X-Men 92. So 18 issues.
It's going to be a long read.
That's only 18 issues, and 8 of them are half issues.
Yeah. Sure.
Don't be a bitch. You just got back from vacation. So.
And you forget, I'm going to be giving a musical analysis of the X-Men animated series introduction, which has inspired our theme music.
Yeah. Which you have to start working on now that you're back from vacation.
Yeah. See, I'm doing actual work.
Finally. Good God. But no, I actually enjoyed this. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I was going to. My first thought when I looked at what we were reading for today, I was like, "Oh God, Marvel and DC, really? This is what we've come to." But no, I actually enjoyed this. Wolverine had no qualms about killing people. The foot soldiers in this were clones of Steve Rogers.
Yeah, that was an interesting twist, I thought.
But they referred to them as super strong and all that good stuff, but they crumbled with one hit kind of thing.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be LMDs at first, but apparently I was wrong.
No, I do enjoy this, and I think the Weapons Plus program is something that you can really get some back history on and really get some people interested in, because like you said, there's a lot of people just like you who love Wolverine as a character and will follow his comics to the grave.
Yeah.
I used to have a joke that there was one point in our pop culture history where Wolverine had to show up at a Scooby-Doo episode for a crossover, then swim back home to be on Saturday morning television, and then swim back across the coast so that he could be in the comic book by noon, and then show up at the Batcave, and then, basically Wolverine was every fucking where.
Yeah.
And, you kind of look at it like, oh my God, how is he doing all of these things? So, but
yeah,
the weapons program, since they've expanded it with characters like Deadpool and Phantom X, and recently, some of the recent additions I think are a little bit out there, but I think the series might be an attempt to clean it up a little bit to make a little more canonical sense of everything.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I always love when they bring Cap and Wolverine together. They're always some of my favorite stories. So that was the main reason I was excited to read this.
Right.
Because there's the one where we find the backstory of Nuke and Wolverine or Cap has like crushes the tendons in his arm, so he can't like extend his claws, but Wolverine still kicks his ass.
Yeah.
And then after Cap comes back to life, Wolverine takes him on a worldwide bar hopping trip in the Blackbird with Nightcrawler piloting.
Yeah.
And you see him in the bar with just stacks of glasses around them because of their healing factors. They have to drink so much just to have a buzz. Yeah, it's always fun when those two are together.
Let's be completely honest. Who the hell's going to charge Captain America for a beer?
Who's going to charge Wolverine for a beer?
Well, anybody can charge him. He's just not going to pay.
Yeah, if anything, you would charge Captain America because he's going to pay.
Well, but since Mr. Rackets is prepping his stream up here, you think we should go ahead and cue up the outro music?
I think we should.
You got anything else?
That's probably wise.
You want to go ahead and throw out there before we get this set up and whatnot?
Just cool beans.
God damn it! Damn it! One episode. I thought we had one episode. Fuck.
Becky DM'd me and asked me to say it just once on the show.
Okay.
So I had to.
Fucking doxing DMs out here. Anyway, I appreciate you guys coming. Drop it in. Like, share, subscribe if you haven't. We appreciate it. We'll be talking about X-Men 92 tomorrow, Amalgam Comics next week, Thor Odin's Son, and his indie comic creation Monday, and possibly something Wednesday evening. So we'll look and see what's going on. But
it's gonna be fun.
Until then, go get some cured meats and some crackers. Prepare for the part 2 of the deposition of Vic Mignogna over on Nick Recada's channel. Check out the Dead Man's Tome show that was final streaming with us. And let me leave you wonderful people with this brilliance of a track here. If it's gonna work. Maybe I have to make it visible. Yep, I have to make it visible. If it's not visible, I can't enter. What the fuck? All right, I'm gonna mute my mic again. So don't expect me to say anything else. But
should I mute mine, or do you want me to just like say a bunch of nonsense while this is playing?
No, I'm gonna end the call and then I'm gonna call you back on mobile once the outro and the stream's over.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Anyway, thanks again. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow.
Good night, everybody.
I don't like you, Internet. Nothing personal, kids. But you're just wrong about this. So listen up.
All of the drama, whenever will it cease? Should be right now. Fake is innocent, so proven guilty. You claim there's lots of victims, you say that you won, but we still ain't seen no proof. That ain't how this country's run. You've been trying to tell us about all the awful things he's done. I thought it was so much fun. Kissy face emoji, now his career's gone. So come on, naysayers, you just trying to spread the drama. Here, let me stand with Vic Mignogna. Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna. The industry ain't nothing without Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna. Looking for information, they just adding to the drama. Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna. Still nothing but hearsay, but now his career's a goner. Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna. Anime ain't nothing without Vic Mignogna. If you don't have the proof, then why you wanna kick him? I don't know about you, it's for me, I'm standing with them. Voice of Broly, he was doing great at Funimation, but then they fired him, all thanks to baseless allegations. You're an Nazi, what the frick is that even supposed to mean? That you can't do your research in the anime community? If you ain't got the proof, take him out then shut it, cause you just spreading hate that I promised no one wanted. Listen, Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna. The industry ain't nothing without Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna. Looking for information, they just add into the drama. Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna. Still nothing but hearsay, but now his career's a goner. Vic Mignogna, Vic Mignogna. Anime ain't nothing without Vic Mignogna. All of the population agrees that Vic is brilliant, but most of our reactions made us all look like some idiots. So dumb.
And that is it, folks. Check out the link in the description. This is Vic Mignogna, PewDiePie Bitch Lasagna parody by the Kaiba Man. Check him out on YouTube. Like I said, links in the description below for the outro song. Thank you, everybody, again, and have a great night.